Shwmai pawb, hello everybody. Welcome to my wild Welsh garden. Welcome back if you're a follower or a frequent visitor, and a particular warm welcome, croeso cynnes iawn, to any new visitors or any new followers. So welcome to my channel where I'm wilding my garden and trying to make it better for wildlife. Well, we had our first frost this morning. Yes, when I came out, everything was sparkling and covered with that lovely sort of icing sugar effect. And now the weather's getting colder, I'm feeding the birds more regularly. Mostly sparrows on the ground here, feeding on sunflower hearts and mealworms. Get quite big flocks of sparrows at the moment. It's obviously been a good year for them. And here they're joined by a little robin. It is a little bit blurry because I'm filming through my kitchen window, so I apologise for that, but you do kind of get the idea. And I'm also putting food on the bird table, and here you can see a bunch of starlings on the table. They can't get onto the feeders, so I put some up there for them. And that's a little coal tit, I think, that's just on the sieve. And more sparrows, always lots of sparrows. It's quite difficult to position the camera so that I get everything in. There's always something that's just off camera or just on the edge, like this little coal tit again on the sieve, picking up the seeds that the sparrows drop. They're very cute little birds. And back again. And the little bird on the left here is a nuthatch and a starling that can't get onto the fat balls. And that's a great tit. The frost didn't last very long, about half an hour, I think, that's all. As soon as the sun came onto the garden, it disappeared. But the sun shows the beautiful autumn colours at the moment. Lots of browns and golds and oranges and yellows. Everything is slowly sort of sinking and fading and lowering down into autumn and then into winter. So as it's October and it's time for a garden tour, I thought we'd just take a wander around the garden and I'll just show you what's going on. And there's just a few things I'd like to talk to you about, really. So I thought I'd just show you what's happening at the front of the house and how lovely the erigeron is that I saved from the weed killer. I didn't have any of this last year. Yes, it looks very Gertrude Jekyll. I'm fully expecting to have a battle with the council again next year to stop them spraying weed killer along the front of my house. It took me 2 years to stop them. If you're not familiar with the story, I'll put a link in. I did a video about it, so I'll put information about the video, and you can have a watch if you want. This little plant isn't native to the UK. It's Erigeron carvaniensis. Is that right? It's the Mexican fleabane. But it's just lovely. And it flowers and flowers all summer. And the little pollinators love it. The flowers start off white and then fade to pink as they age, and then you get this lovely sort of dolly mixture effect, which I think is just delightful. So we start off by the back door, just because it's a convenient place to start. So a few weeks ago, I actually met somebody who follows me on YouTube. He is the brother-in-law of somebody that I learn Welsh with. So hi, if you're watching, Wendy's brother-in-law. And he thought that I had help in my garden. So I had to explain that I don't have any help at all. He thought I'd had help moving the slate, and I didn't. Every little last bit of this slate path was moved by me. I have had some help. When I first came, I had a man to put that trellis up, and that arch there that has the roses growing up. And he also renovated my potting shed. And my brother came and made the hole in the wall that the hedgehog uses, that's pretty inaccessible at the moment. But other than that, everything else has been done by me. So I put this trellis up, which is just to the right of the central path that goes up the middle of the garden. And what can I say? It hasn't fallen down yet. And I made this little pergola from the hazel stems that we pollarded from over the road. Oh, yes, now I did have some help with that. A chap came, a tree surgeon he is, but he has all the kit, you know, he's got the chainsaws and the big loppers and the log transporting trolley and a van. And he helped me pollard the trees over the road and prune them back a little bit. So yeah, I did have some help there. And he also pollarded this old cherry about 4 or 5 years ago, which has since grown up quite considerably. Yes, I couldn't have done that on my own at all. And I've been trying to think if I've had any help with anything else, and no, the trellis over there I put up, planted all the plants, all the trees. So we'll go through the rose arch to the secret garden that is now. You see, it's mostly in shade now, and as the winter goes on, it'll be pretty much in shade all day. So the other thing that I wanted to say was that I was watching a YouTube channel, a very popular one, I don't want to say which one it is, where she goes on sort of country walks. And there was a lovely walk in October, beautiful autumn colours, and lovely bird song. And I thought, well, that's very unusual, because none of my birds are singing except the robin, because there were blackbirds and sparrows and blue tits, and then I heard a willow warbler, and I thought, oh, that's very strange, because, you know, the willow warblers have all left by now. And then I heard a cuckoo, and I thought, oh, This is a recording from spring, and it's been added. I mean, I don't know whether it's a sort of stop recording, you know, that you can get off the internet, but it kind of spoilt it for me, really. So I just wanted to say, really, that I don't ever add anything to my videos. I don't add any sound. I don't add any music anymore, because I got all mixed up with the whole copyright thing that I don't understand. And I thought, oh, just make life easier. So yes, I don't add any sort of sounds that aren't in the garden, and I don't add any pictures, any films that aren't in the garden that day that I'm filming it. So now I'm standing the other end of the garden, the top of the garden, looking down. And the other thing I just wanted to sort of explain about, really, was you have heard me just occasionally saying things in Welsh. And most of you will realise that I'm not Welsh, I'm English. And but I am learning Welsh. Yes, dwi wedi bod yn dysgu Cymraeg am 5 mlynedd. So yes, I've been learning Welsh for 5 years. When we came here, Roger and I always intended to learn Welsh, but after he died that first year, well, I just didn't have the headspace, you know, I didn't know which way up I was, never mind what language I was speaking. Then the following year, I thought, do you know, I think I could concentrate a bit now, and you know, maybe I would enjoy it. And I really do enjoy learning Welsh. It's not easy at all. It's such a difficult language to speak, and I still can't speak it, not really. I can't understand Welsh people when they talk. I can't really hold a conversation in Welsh. But there's a bunch of us, and we're all old, and we're all really bad. But we've decided that we've given up all thoughts of ever being fluent. We're just enjoying the process. So I'm standing in the other corner of the garden, just looking down over the veg patches that have been a complete failure. But there are some green beans that I'm leaving there for the birds in the winter. And then we go down the side of the veg patches with autumn raspberries on the left. But the reasons why I'm learning Welsh are because it is a beautiful language, and I would love to be able to speak it a bit more. And it certainly helps to be able to sort of, you know, pronounce place names and talk to somebody very basically. But I am actually quite worried about getting something like dementia, because, you know, living on my own, if that happened, I really don't know what I would do at all. So partly I'm learning Welsh to keep my brain active, you know, to keep everything working. And I think, well, you know, if I can still understand Welsh grammar, and if I can still learn some new Welsh vocabulary, some gyrfa newydd, then I can't be that bad. And that's kind of reassuring, really. So I bought myself a very cheap metal arch, which I've managed to get under here to keep the trees up and make it easier for me to get through. It's very cheap, it won't last very long, but it doesn't need to. It just needs to last long enough for the branches to sort of harden in that shape, and I think that will be within a couple of years. So through the arch and over the stepping logs, which is an awful lot easier than it was last time. and onto the lawn. Beautiful, beautiful afternoon. So this is the lawn from the other side, and this is really in full sun all year round. So this is where I come and sit on an afternoon like this when the secret garden is in shade. And then of course in the winter I sit in the summer house. There's a few insects on the ivy, mostly honeybees I think. You hoverflies and flies. And I've thought of some more things that I had help with. There used to be, on this patch here where the new pond is, there used to be some very old dilapidated sheds that the rats lived under. It was Rat City underneath them, and I knocked them down, but I did get a man to come and put this fence up for me. And my son helped me to put the polytunnel up. This is where it's very useful to have a son who's 6'3". And in the polytunnel I've been planting out some brassicas, and I'm just so sick of planting plants that the slugs just eat within a few days that I've started to use some slug protection for the first time for a while really. And there's two types here. There's this sort of sheep, I think they call them sheep's pellets, but I think they're some sort of sheep's wool. And then this one over here is some sort of larva, and it's supposed to be sort of sharp and irritate slugs, and they don't like to climb over it. And then as a control I've put some in here that I haven't got. I haven't put any slug protection around. But I was listening to a really interesting programme on Radio 4 called Sliced Bread, where they were testing different sorts of slug protection to see whether it's the best thing since sliced bread. That's the idea of the programme. And basically nothing worked. They put some slugs in a container with some lettuce and different sort of slug barriers in between, and the slugs just went over everything. So yeah, they had copper and then the sheep's pellets and eggshells. I think that was the other thing they had, and yes, none of them worked. The slugs just went over them all and ended up on the lettuce. And then back down the slope to the back door. My little container garden. And the hedgehog cafe. I'm afraid hedgehog totally deserted me this summer, so I don't know what's happened to him. So again, thanks for watching, thanks for joining me in my wild Welsh garden, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Hwyl fawr!